Hi, welcome to Mark Pukita's Truth Bomb. I'm Mark Pukita. We've got a good show for you tonight. The first thing we're going to do is we're going to show you 8 new ads that we have running around the state on radio. Second, we're going to have a tribute to Martin Luther King because it's Martin Luther King Day. And then third, we're going to have a campaign update. Chris Hicks will be joining me. Let's get right to it. Let's get to segment 1. Hey, Chris, how you been? It's been
Mark,
a week.
How you doing?
I'm doing
Move
well.
you over here in our high-tech
Whoa.
pool. So
That was pretty cool.
So then I can put my head will be behind the logo over here. So how are you doing tonight, Mark?
I'm doing well. How are you, Chris?
I'm doing fantastic. So
That's good.
We've got, as you mentioned, there's 8 new radio ads that just started today on iHeart and Salem radio stations across the state of Ohio. And you're I think trying to get the message out, but we need help getting the message out, and we're going to go through each of them. And you talk a little bit about the inspiration or your key takeaways from each of the ads.
Yep.
By the way, what happened the last time you ran a radio ad?
I got called anti-Semitic inappropriately. And we only ran that ad one time. So it was one ad, one time. And that ad is the ad that keeps on giving. It probably has worked better for us in terms of eyeballs and all the rest because I am 0% anti-Semitic, 100% anti-caricature and facade. And everybody now knows that, including people at Axiom, Politico, and everywhere else.
Don't forget you're against actors also.
Yeah, I'm against
professional actors that are politicians.
Right. Who take their costumes off once they get into office and stop acting. And we're like, gee, why are they like that?
So we've got 8 ads. We're going to get right into it. And the first one, you had an ad before. You had 3 ads before, of which one was the Josh Mandel ad.
Right.
And nobody talks about the other 2, but there was one called Caricatures. And now you're going to have Caricatures 2. So let's let that one spin here.
Okay.
So have you been following the Republican U.S. Senate primary?
The one with the boring banker, the entitled princess, the never Trumper, and the facade?
Which never Trumper, Vance or Moreno?
Oh, touche. I am so sick of rhinos and swamp creatures.
Yeah. Have you checked out Mark Pukita?
Who?
Mark Pukita, a real conservative. Check him out at markforohio.com. That's mark4ohio.com.
I'm Mark Pukita, a Republican citizen candidate running for U.S. Senate. I'm focused on issues like law and order, education, government accountability, freedom, and fiscal responsibility. I'm the only candidate for national constitutional carry and a national heartbeat bill. Learn more about me and my policy agenda at markforohio.com. That's mark4ohio.com. I'm Mark Pukita, and I approve this message that is paid for by Mark Pukita for U.S. Senate 2022 Committee. Let's go, Brandon.
Let's go, Brandon.
So that's ad number 1, Caricatures.
Yeah.
Caricatures 2.
Yeah.
So share with us your wisdom on this one.
Yeah, the caricatures and facade thing is, I want to talk about policy. And the only other candidate in this race who seems to want to talk about policy is Matt Dolan. The rest are just facades and caricatures when it comes to talking about the issues that Ohioans and Americans want to talk about. At least Matt has some policy positions. I don't agree with them, but he talks about them.
All of them. You might agree with some.
Yeah. Well, yeah, but I'm like, I don't agree with most of it, his kind of his approach and his philosophy. But you're right. Okay. There are some we would certainly agree on. And I like Matt. But he seems to be the only one capable of having a policy discussion or even wanting to have a policy discussion. And we've got people are probably sick of this, our 21-point policy guide. yeah, it's like, oh my God, the policy guide again. No, but seriously, this is my commitment to Ohioans on how I'm going to think, vote, legislate, negotiate in Washington. Yeah, there we are. Everybody,
Couldn't
hold
find
up
mine.
your
I didn't know where
policy
I put it.
guides.
So I was
Yeah, if
looking
you've
for
got
it
a
over there.
policy guide, take a picture, put it out on Facebook. We're gonna
Yeah.
start a viral thing. No, but seriously, nobody else wants to have a deeper policy discussion. I would love to do a roundtable, but it's just not. No one seems to be game for that. So we'll move on.
All right. So ad number 2 is entitled Mandel. Okay, so here it comes. What could happen in this
This could
ad?
be.
You might call him out
Holy
for
cow.
having a short
Look
crop
out.
haircut like your own, or you get attacked for that. So, okay, but here, let's spin it and see what this one says.
Have you been following the Republican U.S. Senate primary?
Oh, yeah, unfortunately. They all seem like caricatures more than candidates.
That's right. The worst is that Mandel guy. He acts like he's running to be a televangelist more than a senator.
Oh, I agree. If we keep electing people like this, we'll just keep getting the same terrible results.
I like Pukita. He's authentic, unlike these people. You can learn more about him at markforohio.com. That's Mark, the number 4, ohio.com.
I'm Mark Pukita, a Republican citizen candidate running for U.S. Senate. I'm focused on issues like law and order, education, government accountability, freedom, and fiscal responsibility. I'm the only candidate for national constitutional carry and a national heartbeat bill. Learn more about me and my policy agenda at markforohio.com. That's Mark, the number 4, ohio.com. I'm Mark Pukita, and I approve this message that is paid for by Mark Pukita for U.S. Senate 2022 Committee. Let's go, Brandon.
All right, so there you have. And what is your view? Are you anti all televangelists?
No, but I don't think he's running to be elected pastor of a congregation. He's running for U.S. Senate. I've already said Josh Mandel will do anything, say anything, pander to anybody to get elected. He's been on the public dole, the whole time. He's never really had a job in the private sector. He hasn't created any jobs. I've created over 2,000 jobs in Ohio alone. But in addition to that, Chris, Josh's surrogates like Jenna Ellis are willing to do the same thing, to pander and then to do things like call me anti-Semitic, call me a scumbag, do anything to get eyeballs and clicks for Josh. And the interesting thing is so they're not talking about things things that are going on right now, like the protesters outside of AOC's office who are asking her to basically disparage Israel, right? And be more aggressive about supporting radical Islamic terrorists for that matter. And then let's look at this Texas synagogue hostage situation in Colleyville, Texas, where the FBI basically are shills for the Democrat Party. I mean, it is clear that the FBI needs to be taken, a flamethrower needs to be taken to the FBI, and we need to start over.
Right.
Anybody that thinks it's just the folks at the top, it's not. It's a problem.
Right.
Yeah. So that's it.
So let's go. But just to be clear and on the record, you are not against all televangelists, or you have deep televangelist, anti-televangelist sentiments.
I am.
Josh Mandel is a televangelist you're not a fan of.
Yeah. Ernest Angsley was one of my favorites, if you remember him.
All right. So the third ad is called Timken. And let's see what you have to say about the lovely Miss Jane Timken. Here we go.
Have you been following the Republican U.S. Senate primary?
Oh, I can't stand that woman swamp creature. The one who loves DeWine's lockdowns and Portman's rhino agenda.
Timken?
Yeah.
She also let crooked Larry Householder take over the Republican Party with his dirty bribe money.
I'm voting for Pukita.
Who?
Mark Pukita. He's the real conservative deal. You can learn more about him at markforohio.com. That's Mark, the number 4, ohio.com.
I'm Mark Pukita, a Republican citizen candidate running for U.S. Senate. I'm focused on issues like law and order, education, government accountability, freedom, and fiscal responsibility. I'm the only candidate for national constitutional carry and a national heartbeat bill. Learn more about me and my policy agenda at markforohio.com. That's mark4ohio.com. I'm Mark Pukita, and I approve this message that is paid for by Mark Pukita for U.S. Senate 2022 Committee. Let's go, Brandon.
Okay, so that's when I'm talking about Jane Timken. Have at it, Mark.
Well, Chris, let's face it. Jane Timken presided over the biggest scandal in ORP history, the Ohio Republican Party history, with Larry Householder. And she kicked the can down the road on $2 million of accounting inconsistencies that are still being covered up. And then J.D. Vance hires her, Larry Householder's team to be part of his campaign. I don't think many Ohio voters understand that, because, you know, who's going to go down into the weeds like you and I do and look for those things?
Right.
So I just want to make this perfectly clear. J.D. Vance has hired the team of campaign people who were working with Larry Householder, the guy who has been indicted in the First Energy debacle, a $50 or $60 million fraud against, I want to say fraud against humanity, fraud against Ohioans, and actually probably a fraud against humanity. I mean, it just it's absolutely incredible that I've got to say it. It's absolutely incredible that Jane Timken is a candidate for U.S. Senate, and there's potential that she could be endorsed by the Ohio Republican Party. It's just insane.
Well, it's birds of a feather.
Birds of a feather.
I one thing that people may not know that they should know also is that when Jane Timken became party chair, you know, that we all think Trump picked her, and she was really, if you get to know her, she was the lesser of two evils.
Right.
And when they voted, it was between John Kasich, loyalist Matt Borges, and Jane Timken, and it was a tie vote. Okay, and they went in the back room. They made a deal, and Borges dropped out, and that is how Timken became party chair. Why did Borges drop out? Do you know why he dropped out, Mark? I don't know if you and I ever talked about this. Do you know why Borges dropped out?
I don't know why he dropped out, but he's been charged, hasn't he?
No, he has. He's part of the Larry Householder thing, but he dropped out because he got paid $200,000. They paid him $200,000 to be chairman emeritus.
Oh,
and
that's right.
So the same people that are saying we don't have the money, we cannot waste the money to do an audit of the ORP books, thought it was a good idea, rather than have a second ballot, to get him to back out by bribing him with $200,000 of donor money.
I remember that
out of the race.
That
That is the kind
bribe.
of cesspool, like that. The things that kind of happen all the time in these kind of environments. So I do appreciate, though, and I've seen some comments that even in an ad where you're talking about Timken on the back end, you talked about specific policy issues you're for, and you haven't said anything, because we go through these commercials. There's kind of that standard end at a few of them, and they get better as we go. These commercials are going to get more provocative as we go, and more unique. But you talked about two things, and I think you do in one more commercial here. We're going to come back to it after the next commercial. I think it gets played again, but is the national concealed carry, national constitutional carry, and a national heartbeat bill, which we'll talk about in a second. But let's play the next ad, which is called Vance, Timken, and Moreno. Vance, Timken, and Moreno. Here we go.
Have you been following the Republican U.S. Senate primary?
Yeah, I can't take Vance seriously. He was a never-Trumper.
Yeah, and how about Timken, who praised Governor DeWine and his lockdowns?
Or Moreno, who said Trump was a lunatic invading the party.
Right. I am voting for Mark Pukita. He's authentic and has real policy.
Yeah, I agree. I checked him out at markforohio.com. That's mark4ohio.com.
I'm Mark Pukita, a Republican citizen candidate running for U.S. Senate. I'm focused on issues like law and order, education, government accountability, freedom, and fiscal responsibility. I'm the only candidate for national constitutional carry and a national heartbeat bill. Learn more about me and my policy agenda at markforohio.com. That's mark4ohio.com. I'm Mark Pukita, and I approve this message that is paid for by Mark Pukita for U.S. Senate 2022 Committee. Let's go, Brandon.
The best part of those ads is the last 3 words.
Let's go, Brandon.
Yeah,
Well, it beats what I said in the last call.
that's
they
true.
said-
So this ad, Chris,
yes.
we already talked about Jane Timken in the last ad. So let's hit on the other 2. JD Vance. JD Vance was an absolute never Trumper. He was almost as bad as Bernie Moreno, but I don't think he called Trump a lunatic or a maniac or whatever, but he said some Trump supporters are white supremacists. So we get to take on that mantle from someone who purports to be part of our own party of, that white supremacy, white guilt kind of thing we're supposed to have. Moreno, on the other hand, where Vance has said, listen, I kind of fess up to it and I saw the light. Bernie is lying about his never Trumpism, or at least the timing of it, because he is on video as recently as April of 2019, basically laughing about the fact that he might be called a Trump supporter. He's like, yeah, my daughter worked for the campaign. You can talk to her about that. Me? Ha, ha, ha. That's a different story. Ha, right. Ha, ha. Talk to her. So anyway, he's definitely a caricature and a facade and an actor. And so that's what that ad is designed to expose.
Well, I also wanted to hit on, before we go on to the next one, is you mentioned a couple things in that close, which have been kind of the standard close so far to these ads. We'll get into some other ads where they're different. But citizen candidate. So how many times have you run for office before?
0. And that is not a white supremacy sign. That's the 0 sign.
Somebody will screen capture this. And okay.
0.
So you're a citizen candidate. And then it said, if I wrote these all down here, you stand for, your big things are law and order. Yep. You're for it or against it?
I am vehemently for it.
Okay.
Yeah. Intensely for it.
Education.
Yeah. Education is good.
Indoctrination kind of education or actual education?
No, actual, like, reading and writing and arithmetic for kids in grade school, not picking their pronouns, right? Yeah.
Okay.
And being competitive on the world stage.
Right.
Right.
You said government accountability was the next one you had on your list. Hold on a second. I just want to understand this. Why does government need to be accountable? I thought that government was always there to serve our needs and respect our freedoms, and so aren't they just naturally accountable? Yeah,
right. If you believe that, I've got some swampland in Florida. So what was it that Ronald Reagan said? The most fearful thing or the most worrying thing you could hear is someone coming to you and saying, I'm from the government and I'm here to help. Of course, they need to be accountable. Our government officials and our government are really almost the only entities in our life that have 0 accountability.
Right.
And it seems like we become anesthetized to it. We're okay with it. We've got to stop. We've got to wait.
What I've observed also is they play with what I call house money. So if you try to hold them accountable, they have unlimited supply of your tax dollars to use to try to fight against being accountable.
Yeah.
And you said freedom.
Exactly.
Freedom.
Yeah.
You mean like freedom from having to worry about anything, or freedom like your God-given freedoms? What are the freedoms?
Freedom to do whatever
free stuff or free speech?
No, free speech and freedom to act like you want to act as long as you don't impinge on others' God-given rights, not free stuff. No one guaranteed you any free stuff.
Okay, and then you said fiscal responsibility. what do we got to worry about fiscal responsibility for? I heard Joe Biden say that we could print trillions of dollars and it would cause inflation to go down. And it's an investment that's only going to pay off in the future. And the more money we print, the better off we're going to be. Isn't that the truth?
No. Joe Biden also cheered for himself by saying, "Let's go, Brandon," on that Christmas video. So Joe Biden is the last guy I would be talking to about anything other than corruption and how to put money, in your big guy account. You could put money in your big guy account, 10% for the big guy. It's ridiculous.
And then the two other things that you said was constitutional carry.
National constitutional carry.
National constitutional carry.
Right. So in the Constitution, in the Second Amendment, we have the right, I believe, to constitutional carry, which is, in my mind, open or concealed anywhere in the U.S. without a permit. Doesn't mean you don't have to go through the process to buy a firearm and all that. But I'm not talking about expanding background checks or anything. I'm just talking about the fact that I should be able to go to another state and not have to worry about getting arrested because they've got some
different rules,
peculiar regulations. Yeah.
Okay. So
and I believe it's a right we already have, but we need reinforcement. And then the last piece I know you're going to talk about is a national heartbeat bill. I'm pro-life, and I believe that this topic is, and it's appropriate that we're talking about it on Martin Luther King Day, because he was a fighter, right, for people who were being wronged and the oppressed. And he did it with grace and humility and love, but he also did it with fervor. And I believe that this is the civil rights issue of our generation: abortion, murdering babies. So, yeah, I that's me. That's what I've stood out for. And I don't see these policies from anybody else.
Right.
But it's I believe it's the right thing to do and be fighting for.
I'm watching some of the comments. I'm going to put one up here just for a second. It says here, Craig saying, we need comprehensive immigration reform and no amnesty. Okay. So I just want to remind people, we're going through the 8 ads. There's a whole policy guide that has all
right.
That covers everything.
Right.
On your website at markforohio.com/policy, it has your 21 area policy guide. So anything you're interested in, you can see where you stand. But it also has your disrupt agenda out there, which is a more succinct 7-point agenda.
You're talking about this policy guide, right,
yes.
Chris?
But I don't know if I have one laying here, but your handout cards have I'll try to grab one here when we're playing a commercial, have the 7-point disrupt agenda on it, with which immigration is one of the points on there as well.
Right.
So, all right, we ready for the next commercial?
And we did a truth bomb last week about immigration, where we did a deep dive.
Deep dive on immigration. Yes, on January 11th, right? We did it on a Tuesday.
Yeah, we did it on a
Tuesday.
Tuesday.
Monday. Yeah. So, okay. So the next now we're going to start rolling. So we've covered the first 4 ads. We have 4 more to go.
Yeah, we got to get going here.
3 of them are very interesting. So these are the ads that are going to be the more interesting ones. And so everybody perk your ears up. These are the more interesting ones. The first one is called LGBTQ. And all right. So how can Mark Pukita get himself?
This might be the new Josh Mandel ad.
Here we go. Here we go.
You know Pat at work?
Uh-huh.
The gender nonconforming pansexual?
Yeah, we met them at last year's holiday inclusion party.
Well, they sent a note to the boss, and now we all need to pick a gender-inclusive phrase to put in our email closing.
Oh, it's crazy.
Mm-hmm.
I'm voting for Mark Pukita in the Republican U.S. Senate primary. He's got the guts to call out all this woke BS.
I agree. I checked out Mark Pukita at markforohio.com. That's Mark, the number 4, Ohio.com.
I'm Mark Pukita, conservative citizen candidate for U.S. Senate. I believe in everyone's right to live however they want, but that sex is simple biology, not choice. I'm against a woke culture that demands crazy virtue signaling and injects a liberal social agenda into the workplace. Learn more about me and my policy agenda at mark4ohio.com. That's Mark, the number 4, ohio.com. I'm Mark Pukita, and I approve this message that is paid for by Mark Pukita for U.S. Senate 2022 Committee.
Before we get into that commercial, Chris, I just want to remind everybody I've got a 21-point policy guide.
Well, I found one, and you have a 7-point
A 7-point disrupt agenda. There we go.
That is a more succinct version. So
we're making fun of that.
Hold on, I'm going to hold up what Josh Mandel has. I'm going to hold up
right, and that's exactly it. And everybody else
say they're awesome and they support Trump, basically.
Yeah. And we're making fun of that, but we're doing it because no one else is doing it. No one else is putting that stake in the ground. So it's a differentiator, but I think we need to be talking about policy. So getting back to that ad with Pat, and many people may not know who Pat is, but if you go back into the Saturday Night Live archives, you'll find some really, really funny stuff. So anyway, anyone who supports me is probably as sick of this woke stuff as I am. I mean, I'm done with having no common sense or no critical thinking in the way we view policy and government and being governed. And I'm not going to be controlled by these people who want to shame us and put us in a box and have us fighting each other with this woke culture, with intersectionality, with white, guilt and white privilege. Just not going to do it. It's absolutely, these are absolutely made up nonsense, voodoo science kind of things. And people are fed up with them. And so
I know
if you love that stuff, I am not your guy. I'm not sure who your person or they is
probably the Democrat
or them or zer is, but one of those pronouns is probably for you.
Yeah. Okay, so I'm going to show a comment here, and it says, "Love the start of the ad about the pansexual from NSNL. Brilliant." So you mentioned Pat. So if anybody who's younger doesn't know that Saturday Night Live used to have a segment called Androgynous Pat, which was a character that nobody could tell whether it was a man or a woman. So it was always people interacting with this person, trying to not offend them by, not knowing whether to say he or her, her.
Failing miserably.
You said and if you, I guess I'm not up on all the terminology, but I think you've done a good job at the terminology actually being correct for what these people say, like a pansexual, this, that. But you
demigender. I love demigender.
You said in that ad, sex is, not a choice. So sex is not a choice. And, what do you mean by that? Sex is not a choice.
Well, you are born either male or female. I love the way Joe Blystone puts it. He goes, there's a bull and there's a cow, and that's it. Right? And we all know that, right? I mean, there's mom, there's dad. Well,
we all know that even in the Bible, there's eunuchs. So there is but.
Oh, yeah.
Well, the point is, I think I've had the discussion with you before, Mark, that when I was young, if we remember, older people, a little bit older, I'm 56, is that a card when you checked off, it used to say sex, male, female. Okay.
Right.
And then if you took a foreign language like French or Spanish, you should start to understand gender, which is something different than sex. Okay. So you can be an effeminate man. You can be a masculine woman. Okay. So that's, we've dumbed down and now we've conflated sex and gender. Sex is body parts. And when you do the chromosome test or something like that, that's what sex is. Gender, you can, like I said, you can be an effeminate guy, average guy, a butch guy, and a butch woman, an effeminate woman. There's all these things, and that's fine. But I think we're all sick of this, that whoever has, that whatever thing or somebody wants to be, they have claim over all of us, that we have to somehow conform to this. So if I call you, welcome, Mr. Mark Pukita, you can get ticked off at me because I didn't properly understand your pronouns. Talk about
So and if any of you out there are as sick of this as I am, just go to my 21-point policy.
So, or if you can't read that much, go to the 7-point disrupt
agenda.
All right. So that's the LGBTQ woke. Now, this may be the most controversial of the 8 ads that we're going to play now, which is titled Obesity. It's entitled Obesity. Let's let it fly.
Bobby got a detention at school today.
Why?
In social and emotional learning class, Bobby said childhood obesity was a problem. That triggered Randy and violated his safe space.
Randy? That kid is huge. He should lose some weight.
I am so tired of this woke BS. I'm voting for Mark Pukita in the Republican U.S. Senate primary.
I agree. I checked out Mark Pukita at markforohio.com. That's Mark, the number 4, Ohio.com.
I'm Mark Pukita, conservative citizen candidate for U.S. Senate. I don't mean to offend anyone, and I, like most of us, could stand to lose a few pounds. We need to start having serious, honest, non-woke conversations about our health, education system, competitiveness, spending, and more. Learn more about me and my policy agenda at markforohio.com. That's Mark, the number 4, Ohio.com. I'm Mark Pukita, and I approve this message that is paid for by Mark Pukita for U.S. Senate 2022 Committee.
I made a confession there. I could lose a little weight.
I thought you were losing weight campaigning.
I did, but that we stopped the fair tours, right? Because I was so concerned about. So you told me you'll campaign, you'll lose weight, and I thought that's nonsense. But then I went on this fair tour, and I was so worried about gaining weight that I didn't eat any fair food except maybe 1 or 2 corn dogs. I mean, over the course of like 70 fairs. And I lost like 13 pounds, but I'm putting a little more of it back on over the holidays and stuff like that. But so getting to this ad, this is an example. We're trying to make an example here, or a way to make fun of the fact that it seems like we no longer can have serious conversations about important issues. And so someone says, well, how is this an important issue? Well, it's an important issue because we've done the research, and we have 4 times the children in the hospital from COVID as they do in the UK. And it seems to be primarily attributed to childhood obesity. That's shameful. And we need to be talking about it, and we need to be considering it. Not only that, Chris, but we saw that one of those contributing factors, one of those comorbidities to COVID was obesity. We are an obese country. I heard Dennis Miller one time. He was making a joke, but he was trying to get the message across. He said, hey, did you hear that the U.S. is no longer the most obese country? It's now Mexico. We're too lazy to even be the fattest country in the world. Now, that's kind of funny, but it's kind of sad.
If he said that today, they'd be attacking.
Yeah, exactly. But that's what he said, and it's like, you know, we do have to have these conversations, and people use being offended, I think, from keeping us from having these discussions that are important, that would undermine their whole, you know, the whole basis they have for this voodoo science and all the rest. So we need to be having it. Listen, if people are offended by that ad, you know, I get it. I mean, this is America. You can have whatever position you want to have, but there are like three buckets I look at. There are the people that are going to be offended by that. They want to be offended. They want to continue to be offended, and they're not going to vote for me. I get it. There are the people that are not offended by it and think that it's valuable to have these discussions, and they'll vote for me, and that's great. The people I want to appeal to and talk to are the people who are initially offended, but then they're like, he's making some good points there. Let's dig deeper. Because it seems to me that we're in a society where people think that if you're polite, you can't question someone else, right?
Right.
Politeness has nothing to do with disagreeing with someone. Politeness has to do with how you treat someone as another human being. You can attack or disagree with their ideas, but you shouldn't be attacking them personally, right? Their looks, their religious beliefs, their color, and things like that. So,
well, I think I think there's a lack of honest conversations on on a lot of topics, on financing in our country, on our actual competitiveness versus our want to feel competitive, on
right,
we're going to buy made in USA, but do we?
right.
About so there are so many things that
Education of our kids.
we do
How
not
how
allow, and it's
yeah,
because somebody, and I'm actually going to put up here a comment from somebody, and I don't mean to offend them or get them mad at me. Somebody about, gosh, offend mama bears out there. Well, maybe, there's somebody in a meeting we had here in Claremont County just on Monday that said something about stepping on toes. The guy said, there's people that get offended because something that got said might step on somebody's toes. And then he said, but you know what? Some toes need to start getting stepped on more. Okay. If we are so thin skinned that in the example, you have somebody that says, a kid gets in trouble because he says childhood obesity is a problem, then that's a problem. And we've got to get, and I think it's, you have what is the thing that you have that you tell people to read, Mark?
you're not talking about the handy dandy 21 point policy guide that fits in your wallet
or
because
the 7 point. I got to get my camera thing right. The 7 point. We just got to get we got to not dumb it down. We've got to not dumb it down because and when we as adults dumb it down, I think it's a huge disservice to kids whose futures get sacrificed by whatever, by teaching them. I'll give another example of, I think, a conversation that we don't have is, I think by and large, you go look at it, we're in the United States on average pretty dumb at math. We're pretty dumb at math. Okay. And how do we expect in a high-tech world to be where people choose to do high-tech things if we're pretty dumb at math? And we can't say that in a classroom, for example, because it might offend somebody. Or we actually want to take, I think you've probably seen this, dumb down math curriculum because it causes kids to feel bad because they're not any good at it.
Right.
So so there's a lot of tough discussions, and I think that one will get a lot of attention and is already running. So for people to know, so it's already running, and hopefully we'll generate some of those discussions once people get past the subject matter. All right, the next one we actually played last week, and I'm going to play it again here. It's on the border. So let's go ahead and let that one fly.
Hey, did you hear that all the Republican U.S. Senate primary candidates want the military to take over Border Patrol?
Well, not Pukita. He has it right, like Trump. Build a wall and empower the Border Patrol. Focus the military on China.
That's smart. China is the threat the military should focus on.
You should check out Pukita at markforohio.com. That's Mark, the number 4, Ohio.com.
I will.
I'm Mark Pukita, a Republican citizen candidate running for U.S. Senate. I'm focused on issues like law and order, education, government accountability, freedom, and fiscal responsibility. I'm the only candidate for national constitutional carry and a national heartbeat bill. Learn more about me and my policy agenda at markforohio.com. That's Mark, the number 4, Ohio.com. I'm Mark Pukita, and I approve this message that is paid for by Mark Pukita for U.S. Senate 2022 Committee. Let's go, Brandon.
This is really an easy one, Chris. Finish the wall, give the Border Patrol our support, the support of the administration, the money and the tools they need to do the job, and allow them to enforce the laws as law enforcement officers, as federal law enforcement officers that are on the books today. We do that, we'll be down from 225 or 30,000 illegal crossings a month to the 16,000 or under that Donald Trump had us at without the military being on the border. our military is better used and is required to fight the Chinese threat. And that threat is much more compelling than having our troops, for example, in Europe as NATO, troops fighting against Russia, this boogeyman that we've got out there. So that's it. It's pretty straightforward. We've talked about it. We talked about it ad nauseum last week, but that's my position. Now, everybody else in my race says send troops to the border.
Right.
I think some of the border state governors would have a problem with that. Isn't there this posse comitatus thing that you got to be concerned about?
Right.
So, I mean, I think their answers in the forum we did that in was simply pandering. They hadn't thought through it like we have, like I have. And they just gave the answer, the red meat answer that they wanted people to hear. It was like Josh got up and said it, and everybody else said, I got to outdo Josh.
Well, and the funny thing is that was never Donald Trump's position.
Never, ever.
Right. It's funny.
And he was right.
In their
he was
quest
right.
to be like Donald Trump, they mess up being Donald Trump.
Yeah.
So, okay. Well, so the last one, the last of the 8, is called Woke at School. Woke at School. And everybody needs to tune up their ears on this one. And
this is the best.
This one, I think pretty much people that have heard these say this one is the one that's the best, but you have to, it's a way homer. You ever heard of a way homer, Mark? Means the more you think about it, the more you realize what this is ad is talking about and the detail of it. So you might have to listen to it twice, but here you go.
Hey, Mom, the teacher says slavery was our fault.
What?
They put a multicultural safe room in my school. I can't go in because Dad is a white oppressor.
What?
My school is having different graduations for whites, blacks, Asians, and Latinos.
What?
Can one of you sign this note? A boy at my school reported me for calling him he. It/they was offended.
What?
I can go in the safe room if I say that I am a non-binary demigender. The teacher says they have pills I can take to be less cisgender.
What?
Stop. This is crazy.
In this Republican U.S. Senate primary election, you need to pay attention and stop voting for the kind of clowns who have gotten us into this mess. I'm Mark Pukita, a conservative Republican citizen candidate running for U.S. Senate. I'm not a caricature or facade. I'm a common sense fighter. Check out Mark Pukita at markforohio.com. That's Mark, the number 4, Ohio.com. I'm Mark Pukita, and I approve this message that is paid for by Mark Pukita for U.S. Senate 2022 Committee.
All right. So that was the 8th ad. So have at it, Mark.
Well, while other kids in school, at the schools of what we would consider to be our adversaries, Russia, China, probably even Iran, they're studying hard sciences and math, and they're figuring out
how to make a nuclear bomb.
How to make a nuclear bomb and weapons systems. Seriously, right? Seriously. Even India, I mean, our ally, they've got all these engineering schools because they want to develop their own fighter jets and things like that. And we're worried about safe rooms and pronouns. This is absolute insanity. We have continued to fall internationally in terms of rankings in science, math, the hard subjects, right? No one does a national ranking on gender studies or things like that. This is just, it's ridiculous. And then people wonder why we have to buy everything from China. I mean, if China just cut us off, there are a lot of products we have that we need or use today that we probably have no knowledge anymore about how to manufacture. I mean, this is a problem, Chris. And everybody seems to be, what is that LA expression? Whistling by the graveyard. It's kind of like, yeah, we don't have to worry about this. Someone else will take care of it. Right. Well, we're getting taken care of right now with empty shelves inflation, printing money like we're Venezuela. Our 401ks are going to be worthless. And we're going to be sitting here. I mean, I was in Russia shortly after the wall fell. You could walk into a grocery store and buy anything you want as long as it was the one sausage link in the counter at the time. It looks like it looked like, I wish I had taken pictures of that. It looked like shelves do here now. I never thought I would see this.
Well, I used to go to China quite a bit, and not recently, but when they were having the Expo, the World Expo in Shanghai, before that started, they are simultaneously digging 5 tunnels under the river for road systems that went under the river. They do it under, the engineering and the stuff like this, the things that they are doing. And it's part of it is, I just started to think we can't even get a bridge replaced. We can't even get, I don't know if you remember, Mark, the big dig in Boston when they dug the tunnel and it was like a disaster and leaked everywhere and all this.
What was it supposed to be? $200 million, and it cost like $10 billion
billions of dollars to get the tunnel going. But we have to be serious about when and in that ad you had what dad's a white oppressor, all these things that are taught that divide us, separate graduations. The thing that's interesting about it, I think is scary, is that a lot of these ads, there are things that you could actually picture these exact discussions happening nowadays. The kids coming home to mom and dad with these, I got in trouble because of this, I got in trouble because of that, I got told by the teacher that dad's a white oppressor.
No, I'm talking to parents literally every day, Chris, who are calling me, texting me, writing me about these very topics. This is not, we didn't just make this up.
Right.
Well,
it's the denial of reality in a lot of cases too.
Right.
So all right. So anything else on the ads before we move on?
Yeah, I do want. So I want to read this one thing from Willis Grady, who I'm pretty sure is a troll, but sometimes trolls are valuable. Mark wants to fat shame people. The last thing an obese person needs is to be fat shamed. I'm sure they already don't feel good about themselves, so shaming them may lead to suicide. Not good. Well, Willis, let me tell you this. I was a fat kid, so I know what it feels like, okay? I wasn't suicidal. I just ate a lot, and I didn't exercise enough. And finally, my parents said, stop that crap, right? You got to exercise more. You got to stop eating as much as you are. And look at me now. I'm Adonis, okay? Now, I'm making fun at the end there, but this is absolute crap, okay? Oh, they're going to commit suicide because they're not. No, I'm not talking about vilifying them. I'm not talking about fat shaming them. I'm talking about their parents being parents and taking control and helping them. Being a parent, getting them better food. I mean, in many cases,
I think we're talking a lot of things: healthy lifestyles, unhealthy lifestyles, healthy, that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Healthy
so Willis, take a walk.
Well,
dude,
I also
it's
like some of these things too is what's I don't want to I'll get myself in trouble here, but a normal family, like a biblically based family, mom, dad, kids, and how important that is. And you see all across our society, it's one of those other discussions that we don't have. We should have done a commercial like this, Mark. You should have done one on the lack of a family, cohesive nuclear family, and how important that is.
Right.
It's to society and the advancement of society. I'm going to go on a real quick tangent before we go to Martin Luther King. Is there's a reason why we have governmental marriage and government making it obstacles to getting divorced. It's because marriage is the thing that generates typically kids. Historically, kids are an 18-year commitment to make them productive citizens, so that shouldn't be taken willy-nilly. It's right. It shouldn't be that it doesn't matter. We can have kids with no dad, no mom, no this, no that. We see the not only what happens, but you're almost not even allowed to have a discussion about it today. You get vilified for even bringing up the topics. Okay.
I forget who it was, Chris. It might have been Pew that said there are 3 things you need to do to almost virtually guarantee not being in poverty. Graduate from high school, get and keep a job, and don't have kids until you're married. Those three things. 99% chance you won't be in poverty.
So, all right, we're running short on time here. Let's get to segment 2, Martin Luther King. So I'm going to play, before you start talking, Mark, about a 1 minute 30, I think, video of Martin Luther King. I think it was from 1963 in a radio interview. This is after he had been in jail for breaking the law and was trying to explain to the press how he could advocate breaking the law and so on and so forth. Here we go.
On the other hand, I must be honest enough to say that I do feel that there are two types of laws. One is a just law and one is an unjust law. I think we all have moral obligations to obey just laws. On the other hand, I think we have moral obligations to disobey unjust laws, because non-cooperation with evil is as much a moral obligation as is cooperation with good. I think the distinction here is that when one breaks a law that conscience tells him is unjust, he must do it openly, he must do it cheerfully, he must do it lovingly, he must do it civilly, not uncivilly, and he must do it with a willingness to accept the penalty. And any man who breaks a law that conscience tells him is unjust and willingly accepts the penalty by staying in jail in order to arouse the conscience of the community on the injustice of the law is at that moment expressing the very highest respect for law.
So, Chris, watching that is that's a very intense video, and I believe what it shows is that the essence of leadership. Martin Luther King was a leader, and he was willing to go to jail to suffer consequences for leading his flock in the right direction. Where are the leaders today? Where are the leaders who are willing to lose something for what they believe in? He was willing to lose his freedom and be put in jail. Our leaders are afraid to lead because they're afraid they won't get reelected. Think about that. They fear not getting reelected. He didn't fear going to jail for his beliefs. I think there's just a stunning and stark contrast. The other thing, in terms of being willing to put your money where your mouth is, or your freedom where your mouth is the founders of our country, people seem to think they were some grassroots group. They were wealthy. They were the wealthiest people in the communities that they represented. And they were willing to put all of that on the line for freedom and liberty. And I think that is a let's call it a lost art or a lost commitment. We're seeing a little of that with Elon Musk and Joe Rogan. They're starting to put their reputations and their potentially their ability to earn on the line. They're willing to be canceled and shamed. And I think they would be people who Martin Luther King would be proud of and say, go Elon, go Joe. He would not be saying, he would be saying, let's go Brandon, not let's go Joe Biden. He would be, right?
So I appreciate those comments, and I'm always like in awe of people that are, I cringe when yet another person says, I've had a very successful life and I want to give back, type people that,
right,
are never really going to stand for anything. But I think about like on vaccines, on masks, on all manner of things. Who are the people that are in a leader class that were willing to go to jail if necessary to prove a point? Martin Luther King was willing to go to jail to
Yeah.
heighten awareness on issues that were we already knew were there. But for all the talk we have of all of our leaders, I don't see any of them that were willing to actually go to jail over it themselves.
Right. Absolutely.
So it's everybody knows it's Martin Luther King Day today, and I think also it's a tribute that although he had a horrific death that of a person committed to nonviolence, and think about how he would be rolling over in his grave on the way that people, the crazy woke, let's throw a trash can through the Starbucks window to protest conservatives, and nobody wants any consequences.
Yeah, he's the kind of guy that would be standing in front of them saying, "Don't throw that garbage can."
Correct.
Don't.
That's not the way.
Right.
That's not the way. Okay, so let's go into a campaign update.
So in terms of a campaign update, we've we've got more work on our plate than we can handle. So we've added some resources. Mary Bracy came on to work with us. We're very, very happy she's come on, and she's just going to end up being a godsend to us. We're going to continue to focus on exposing the frauds and the facades and the characters, maybe fraud's the right word, actors in our race. And we're going to figure out who the true, who's being honest and who isn't. The other thing we're looking for, Chris, and we put some stuff out on Facebook today and elsewhere, other social medias, we need more leaders to join our campaign. And I use the term leaders specifically because we are gaining momentum so rapidly that we need people to lead, not just volunteer and put up a sign and pass out literature. We need people who can be a leader, be a manager for us of other people who have time to volunteer but don't have the time to lead. So we're looking for leaders. We have a lot of fun on this campaign. As you can see by some of the stuff in this truth bomb. And oh, by the way, if you want to really have a lot of fun, you can take a look at the 21-point policy guide. I mean, there's all kinds of fun in there. But seriously, we have a good time. We're having a big meeting this weekend with our leadership, and I think they're enjoying what we're doing. We appreciate them. They're totally committed to us. I'm humbled and honored by the commitment of these people. It's just something I never expected. It's been fantastic. So I want to thank them. And we're looking for more. So if you want to volunteer, you want to sign up, you can go to mark4ohio.com, mark4ohio.com. And there's a form you can fill out there. You can also send an email to info at mark4ohio.com. And you can go to one of our social media pages. And if you see a post, or you can send us a messenger message. We've got all kinds of ways you can interact with us, and someone will get back to you. And now that we've got Mary on board, we'll be super responsive. We were not as responsive as we would like to have been because we just were overwhelmed. So Mary, if you're listening, expect a deluge now. A deluge.
Yeah, if you don't feel the campaign's being responsive enough, there's a woman named Mary. It's her fault. No.
Right.
I'm joking. And
Yeah.
I want to just point out before we sign off here that you can always go to the Mark Pukita webpage, and there's lots of great stuff here. So Mark, if you don't have a physical copy of the 7-point agenda, you can go look at the Disrupt agenda.
Right.
So that's out here. You can go to the policy guide. So the 21-point policy guide is right there, and you can scroll through it.
And you can even download a printable copy of it, Chris, over there on the right.
Of the policy guide. By the way, go do a survey of other candidates for Senate and see if they have this stuff, how deep they are. If you're interested in Mark's events, so you can go look and see what events are coming up on the Mark Pukita campaign.
Yep.
You can also request an event. So if you would like to have Mark, see up here, if you would like to have Mark come to your event or participate, via like a WebEx or Zoom, you can do that as well.
Yep.
There is a press room, so you can see, things to do. Oh, by the way, you put out here, and I'd encourage people to go read the letter from Birmingham jail by Martin Luther King. It's 6 pages long. It's single spaced. Take the time to read it anyway.
It will change it. If you haven't read it before, it is one of those life-changing kind of reads.
And if you want to understand freedom in a context that is supportive of, and in addition to the founders, it's a great piece of work to read about what freedom means, and so on and so forth. Okay.
Right.
And then and then the last thing is Truth Bomb. You can we had some issues with this page because of YouTube, but now you can go see the Truth Bomb and go see all the old episodes of the Truth Bomb out here as well. And then the last thing I'll hit on at the very top, we can't forget that February 4th is currently the ORP meeting. If you are interested in coming to the ORP meeting, you can sign up to join us for a special event at the ORP meeting. And then there is also the running for state central committee. If you're interested in running for state central committee, there's some information out there on how Mark is supporting people who are running for state central committee.
Right.
So I just covered the whole website.
Yeah. And I was going to say, Chris, every Wednesday at noon, we have a Zoom town hall. So people who want to come and ask questions, get to know me better, or maybe they know people who they would like to have have them be exposed to me, they can do that. It's great for shut-ins or people that are in a disparate geography. All are welcome. We will kick out the trolls, but for the most part, we've had really good meetings. We did have someone join us from Canada one time. He was actually a great contributor. So you can go to the website, you can see that, but you can also email us if you need. I'm just Mark4Ohio.com, Mark4Ohio.com. Totally accessible, totally available. No caricature, no facade here.
Okay.
Face for radio. But other than that, not a bad guy. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Do you want to sign us off in any way?
Shape or form?
Yes.
I would say that one of the best things you could do is go download those letters from the Birmingham jail from Martin Luther King and take a look at those. That'd be a great way to honor him, I think, today. And you may get some really good like sayings and expressions you can use with other people.
There's a lot of good sayings in the
I mean, it's like it's chock full of those that a lot of people don't know of. So yeah, and I would say God bless you, God bless America. We live in the greatest country on earth. God isn't finished with us. He's got a lot for us to do. There's a lot to be fixed, but there's a lot of good things still in America, and we can't lose those. So we need to fight hard.
And with that, good night, everybody.
Good night.